Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Happy January 1st. Happy New Year. I've been doing these for a long time, and it's a special thing to do. It's a special thing not only to do my own work for New Year's, but to share what I think might be meaningful for you to think about. And so that usually requires me to give it, to really take a bigger view of what my process is and what I've learned and what I'm walking away from, what I wish to begin to embody more of as we move into a new phase. So there's a lot I want to cover today. I think I want to just acknowledge initially that this could well have been a workshop. In fact, I gave this some thought about whether or not this could be a 40-day kind of thing where I kick off some preliminary work today and then help you track your embodiment of it. Some of you know that over the last few years that I've really begun to lean into neuroscience and really how the brain shapes our behavior, shapes our thoughts, shapes our emotions, and clearly we could even say shapes our destiny. And so neuroscience and both the ancient traditions and neuroscience agree that it takes about a minimum of 40 days to really begin to create new neural pathways, to leverage neuroplasticity. I love this term synaptogenesis, meaning that we're actually carving new synapses. And so I did give some thought about just check about sounds and things like that, because enough people are hearing that the sound is good. So I'm assuming there's something on your end, Julie. And forgive me if I don't look down at the chat a lot during this. It's a little hard to track both. So, but some of you might know that I'm doing some a new offering toward the end of January online that has very much to do with creating new neural pathways. All about this. This is centered around this luminous coherence meditation. But before I get any, so what I'm going to say before we go any further is we're going to do some work today. We're going to lay some important seeds today. If you want to come in and do this meditation series that begins at the end of this month, I really strongly recommend it. If you have not experienced it yet, it's quite meaningful. But get ready, we're going to do some work. We could have just said hi and done a little meeting, and I gave you a nice little meditation, and you did some resolutions, and then we said goodbye and good luck. But instead, what I'm going to do is go ahead and really I'm going to invite you into this workshop, which should take us about 90 minutes or so. So tighten your seatbelt, and here we go. Okay, so let's do this. Let's start with a short meditation just to center ourselves. Might be the first chance you've had to meditate in 2026. This one will be short. It's a way of coming together as a group in my mind and centering ourselves for the work ahead. So go ahead and sit tall. And as soon as you're ready, I'll invite you to close your eyes. Please do that. And again, as I said, we will begin the practice of centering ourselves and coming into this moment fully. With your eyes closed, please begin to turn inward. Notice how you are physically occupying the space. Specifically notice, could you be more comfortable in this moment? More comfortable in your own body? With your eyes closed, the spine moves into a position where you have the sense of it being most alive. Your body and mind most at peace. We spend so much of our life living, perceiving, and yet disconnected from a feeling or the felt sense of being at home whether that's in our car or in our home or even in our body. So I'm just going to invite you to begin to create that atmosphere, that remembrance of being at home in yourself and with yourself and for yourself at home. Then please take a moment to honor the spark that brought you here. Whether that was rational or intuitive, or if it came from an unknown source that brought you here into this space. The first day of this new year. And perhaps see it or name it or feel it as your own innate desire to be the best, the fullest, the freest, most powerful version of you. And now begin to expand it and collect it, if you will. So that force, that impulse that brought you to be here, to create a conscious 2026, that spark, that inclination to be your best, fullest version of you. As you breathe in, sense it expanding, filling your own body. And as you exhale, return that sense of self, that sense, that spark, back to the heart. On inhale, that delight. The joy of being and becoming expands. It fills the body and maybe a little bit of the space beyond it. And as you breathe out, you return to it. You sense it collected at the heart. And just for one more minute or so, become absorbed by and in the innate drive to be the fullest, best version of ourselves that exists from the moment of conception through the rest of our life, to our very last breath. Continue to do that. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. And now as you exhale, you're going to chant Om mentally, radiating outward to this collective of individuals who have shown up. Something like 132 of us, to reinforce the experience of that spark to this community that's gathered. And then may all of you collectively act as a collective now to radiate it outward to all the people whose lives we touch individually. So you're empowering the collective of us. To extend the impulse to be our best version of ourselves to everyone whose lives we touch. And finally, 3 last breaths to the global community. People we are in close relationship to, those that we favor, those that we disfavor. Relax just for a few moments, sit quietly. Recognize that everything that surrounds you has that same drive. That this intelligence is the true guiding force. The guru, the teacher, namely consciousness. And finally, before you open your eyes, just a universal intention. May we all just acknowledge the power of this gathering. May it inspire each of us to become a clearer, stronger, more effective vehicle for that wisdom, that guiding intelligence. And may there be threefold peace. And then when you're ready, slowly come out of the practice. Take your time and welcome back. Okay. So, a few things. I said today is workshop worthy. Could have been extended out for a long time. In short, there's a bunch of stuff I want to get done. You know, modern resolutions, I think, are lacking in so many ways, and perhaps that's why they're so ineffective. The numbers are just frightfully. I mean, they really have you rethink why the hell to even do resolutions when about less than 11% of us achieve them. So that's why I said this has to be kind of a multi-pronged approach for them to actually take root. And typically the idea in resolution is you figure out what's missing in your life, you know, and I've spoken to this before in the past. You figure out what's missing. You've got the model of the 4 desires, you know, this book I wrote that speaks to that human beings have 4 fundamental kinds of desires adapted from this ancient teaching that comes from the Vedas. And so we pick amongst those 4 types of desires: financial, monetary, material, pleasure-based, purpose-based, or freedom or spirituality-based. And then we make this intention that this year will be different. This year we'll achieve more of what we want in that particular category. And again, certainly less than 20% of us ever comes to fruition. So over the next 90 minutes or so that we improve our odds, there's a few things I want to do. Rather than look at a thing that we wish to achieve that relates to desire, relates to these 4 categories, what will be much more effective if we determine the ethos, if you will, what I spoke to kind of last year into this, which is that a purpose-driven desire. Like, what is the values you want to stay committed to? again, this is something that some of you have done the work of the four desires are very familiar with. But what if you could actually lock into a singular intention that wasn't made up intellectually, but actually came from an inner resource, your own inner teacher, as it were? What if you could spend most of your life, most of your days in this year, living out that ethos? So rather than concentrating on a thing, why not concentrate how you will live and make that embodiment of how really your soul is telling you to live be the thing that you are drawing from as it relates to how you'll deal with all of the unexpected stuff that happens. You know, it's one thing that to set a desire and then do what you can to achieve that desire. Typically, there'll be things in life that will come or go unexpectedly into your life, and that may or may not take you off the thing you were set about trying to achieve. And we can also say that, you know, we don't have full control about what will come into our life, despite our best efforts, despite what we'll even describe in this setting as perfect resolution. But what we can control is how we'll show up, what we will embody, the values we'll embody, what truly is most important as it relates to the inner driving force. Now, this is part of a larger conversation we'll have today before we're done, but it's really easy to assign greatness onto someone or something else. It's relatively easy, and I would offer that your brain is actually more geared to assigning that greatness to someone or something else than it is to recognizing the greatness in yourself. But that's inherently a self-defeating commitment. And that something else can be a religion, that something else can be a political movement, that something else can be a football team, that something else can be, you name it. But what if we took ownership of the greatness within ourselves? So number one is to identify that ethos that our soul is asking us to live by, and probably has been asking us to live by throughout our life. And so we'll need to get to that thing. To get to that thing, I'm going to ask you to craft an expression. This is a version of some work I've asked many of you to do in the past. And we'll set it up at the time, but I just want to give you the kind of foreshadowing of everything we're going to do today. So craft an expression, languaging. I'm going to give you some time to actually do this over the session. Of that thing that if you were, what would it take? What do you need to remember? What do you need to commit to in order to be the best version of yourself? I'm going to ask you to share it with us too. Just at that point, it'll just be a sentence or a phrase. I'm also going to ask you to identify what you must let go of. What, as we turn from one year to the next, which by the way is completely arbitrary. I'm not sure how many different calendars there have been in the history of humankind, but there have been a lot of calendars, and they don't all mark January 1st at this particular time of year. In other words, they don't mark the new year at this day, as of midnight, wherever you were last night. Frankly, that's an arbitrary choice. So the point being that if we were to step into that thing now, here, going forward, we want to name it, we want to share it, we want to identify this purpose-driven ethos. And furthermore, now that we've hit this point, as I was saying, what is it we want to step away from? I just recently learned that in the Chinese calendar, the previous year was the year of the snake. So you could ask, well, what should I have shed by the turning of the calendar from the previous year? Okay. And then I'm going to ask you to become really tuned in to the felt sense of what you need to be the best version of yourself. And that is going to be the seed that we're then going to plant in a final meditation. So we've got a few things to do. Okay, so let's start in earnest. A little bit of background, and then we'll jump into the what I need to walk away from, specifically what's a habit that's not helping me anymore, that I'm conscious is not going to continue to serve me, and that's the critical. And so let me start here from this point on. So I'd like you to think about this. There is no arrival. You think you've arrived at 2026. But really what you've arrived at is just simply a here thing. And you basically have arrived at the liminal space. Liminal means between. At the space between 2025 and 2027. That's all you're in. You're just in this thing that's not 25 anymore, and it's not yet 27. And every day it gets a little closer to 27 and a little further away from 25. But you're also in any given moment between night and day, between birth and death, young and old. Nothing stands still. We're between all sorts of dramatic changes and undramatic changes. So you're somewhere between gain and loss, of being lucid and not lucid. There is no arriving. Moment to moment is simply a space between what was and what will be. And the mind can conceive of what was, but it conceives of it completely subjectively, in a way that changes as you change. You conceive of your future also in a kind of subjective, not real way. All that we can do is change now. We can't actually change the future, even if we had free will, which, let's go with the idea that we have some. We have some free will, but we don't change the future. We can only change the moment. But what we will say is that if you want to change your relationship to what will be your now, you have to change your now. And so that's really where I'm hanging out. The more comfortable you can be with uncertainty, with being between 25 and 27, the more you can bring the fullest version of yourself to every now, what I like to call the eternal now, the more likely it is that you will meet the best version of yourself in what you think of as your future. If you want to know how you're going to meet we'll call it your future self, your future life, ask yourself with how you are with uncertainty. Ask yourself with how you are with loss. Ask yourself how you are with unanswered questions. Because all of those are just heightened experiences of liminal space. Not knowing. You're between here and there. The whole of our life is between birth and death. We never arrive. So, it asks us to do something really important. How do we enter into the best relationship with the now, which is the liminal space between what was and what will be? That's where you can meet the best version of you are hoping to meet in the future. Okay. So that's point number one. So what we want to do initially then is acknowledge what was, while we're still pretty clear about it. What do you need to walk away from in 25? What, as you look back at the past year, all the qualities the choices, and we'd argue at some level all experience is a choice. Everything we experience is a choice at some level. So what do you need to walk through, walk past, or leave behind as the skin sheds its, as the snake sheds its skin? What's the skin you need to leave behind? I want to give you right now 2 minutes to write about it. I hope you brought a pen. I hope you brought paper. I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. And I want to give you 2 minutes to write about it. So I'm going to look at my watch. And please just take 2 minutes. To describe it. And if it brings up feelings, that's a good thing. Write fast, don't think. Okay, just gonna give you a few more seconds. Okay. Go ahead and put your pen down. So you might know this about the human brain, but we are story and pattern creating machines. It's one of the reasons that we have gotten, that civilization developed, is we tell each other stories. And we, whether it's by birth or psychological background or stars or who knows, past lives, we choose the stories that we find meaningful. There have been something like 1,000 different religions in the history of humankind, and each one took their story very seriously, and we see it today. But they're all just overlays onto nature. Some of those stories make nature very important. Some of us actually believe that nature is as important as humankind and civilization, that we are tied to it. Many, most don't. I mean, we can see the disregard in climate change. That's a real thing. That's like some people just don't care, right? That's part of their story. So what we do is we overlay meaning, we overlay patterns, we overlay beliefs onto this thing, right? Butterflies don't need a story. They're driven by some innate desire. Some of us, we'd call it dharma. Sometimes it's called the Tao or Dhamma. The Buddhists called it Dhamma in Pali. That's the language for it. And so the idea is here, to what extent does our story serve us? And to what extent does it stilt us? Does it limit and confine us? And that's one thing that I really think is important, that if we want to create a better version of ourselves, and we have to start now, we have to start with the constructs that we hold dear, that we hold on to consciously and unconsciously. And so what we'll do in just a matter of minutes is move you into a meditation that I think will help clarify not the learned story, not the story that we hold as our belief, that we hold as true, then that when compared to other people and their story seems false or less real or less meaningful, it allows us to ideally skip past that human overlay, that mental overlay into the story, and instead drop into something that is innate wisdom, innate understanding. And so that's what I'm going to have you build into, and ultimately call upon that inner guide, that inner wisdom as it relates to this. What is key for me to live with in this coming year? What is that thing that day after day I wish to show up for? We could even argue it's not, ultimately, when it's most authentic, it's not an I thing at all. The Buddha would argue that there was no self. And when we get clear, when we move into that feeling tone, that experience of not an I, not I'm of this age, I'm of this gender, of this sexual persuasion, I'm of this race, but rather when we hear universal intelligence itself. So sages have looked into what really is here. Is it the Jewish story? Is it the Christian story? Is it the Protestant story? Is it the Mormon story? Is it the Muslim story? Is it which story? Is it the Aztec story? Is it and again, they all have a place. They all give human beings meaning, but it not necessary, but seen from a larger context, they're all overlays. What is it when we don't overlay anything? We hear about that recognition coming through emptiness, through stillness, or through coherence. When the mind is unified, when we experience the part of us that is greater than the sum of all of our parts, greater than the sum of all of our learning, greater than the sum of all of our memories, when we experience that, what is there? First, we have to experience emptiness. No self, if you will. There's no one there. There's no one else there. But then what it does is it opens us up to what is reality. And here's the critical teaching. It's not about story. This is, in fact, the revelation that each of us will experience. Deep in a unified experience of self, there is only intelligence. Some people would call it energy, but energy is just information, plus some dynamic moving force, which the yogis call prakriti. But here's the important thing. It's intelligence that, as we listen and feel into it, spontaneously moves us into freedom. It's inherently showing us the way to be that version of ourself, or if you prefer, our non-self, that allows us to be free. When we empty mind, when we empty the contents of our beliefs, even our aspirations, what we access is the limitless capacity for freedom. That then is the seed of the end of suffering. And the other thing we experience is the binding intelligence, the intelligence that pervades everything. So when I clear my mind of belief, pattern seeking, identity, the past, the future, I enter through my experience. It's here all the time, but now I experience it. And what do I experience? I experience that which pervades everything. And that, the closest word I know of, is love. There's an binding intelligence that holds trillions of cells in our body together. It's a whole, it's a holding. It's a containing. It's in its own innate wisdom. So what we want to do in order to find that inner teacher, that inner guiding force, that specific ethos that you or I need to hear and need to follow on a consistent basis. First, I get my mind quiet, and then I can listen to this intelligence that inherently is freedom and that inherently binds me to the whole of creation, moment to moment to moment. And it is, the Buddha called it karuna, which is compassion, but we can call it active love. Okay? So That's the background for this meditation. So what I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of a break. Just to walk away from sitting, walk around your living room, your bedroom, wherever you're listening to this. Let's just take 2 minutes to clear our head, give it some thought, think about why we're here, get a drink of water, whatever. 2 minutes, I'll be back. I'm going to stand up too. There's benefit from walking away from our screens, expanding our view again. Look around the room so that what you're sighting is both close and far, all angles. This exercise helps to downregulate your nervous system, and it's really, I think, can set the stage for a clear practice ahead. So go ahead. I'll see you in 2 minutes. I'm going to stand up myself. See you in a little bit. Okay, you feeling ready? Let's do this. So I set it up. I don't think I need to say a lot more about it. Go ahead and get comfortable. All right, so spine is tall. Okay. So let's move through this. There'll be some preliminary steps, and then I'll invite you into that, really move you in through some steps about emptiness. And I hope it's clear why I'm inviting you there, and specifically because we want to tap into this larger intelligence that we very often see or believe we see greatness in others. We don't see it in ourselves, and yet the very thing, to the extent that others are embodying greatness or their own fullness, we want to turn that light, the light of perception, onto it within ourselves. Okay, so that's what this is all about. So go ahead, please, and take a moment just to sit up, to close your eyes, to consider why you're here. I touched on that in the beginning. The very first time I asked you to close your eyes is to remember the impulse that brought you here. The innate drive, spark to be the best, the fullest version of you. And even if you didn't get distracted, say in 2025, or lost in some kind of struggle, it's quite easy to lose sight of it. It's a now thing, a liminal thing. So as you settle with your eyes closed, turn your attention to your breath and just begin to watch the body breathing. I'm going to invite you to watch the abdomen softly expand and contract. There are several places we can watch the breath, but today, for the purpose of this practice, attention at the abdomen. Just notice the abdomen expands and contracts and the effortless flow of the breath. Slowly begin to observe that there are actually three things going on right now, three phenomenon, each distinct. One is the body is breathing, the abdomen specifically, the abdomen is moving. The other is that the mind is attending to that movement. And the third is the metacognitive experience. There's the perception of you attending to the breath. So there's three things: the body breathing, the mind doing its best to attend to it, and then metacognition. It's kind of over field perception. Or awareness. Continuing to acknowledge and be in this experience of the three different fields, start to consciously deepen the breath, preferably in and out through the nostrils. Comfortable, full breathing, no strain. Shaping your breath so it's even and smooth with no breaks. Resolving all of the coarseness, the pauses. We're going to continue for about another 3, almost 4 minutes, but what I'm going to ask you to do is get a little bit more internalized with the experience of breathing smoothly and deeply. So as you start your inhale, start with awareness in the heart center and see or feel awareness descend toward the pelvic floor, like a wave. And then as you exhale, see the wave rise and return back to the heart. The mechanics of the breath remain oriented toward smooth, even, unbroken flow. While the perception of the breath is more subtle. A wave of healing or even of delight, joy moving within you. From the heart to the pelvis on inhale, from the pelvis to the heart on exhale. Please continue. Now as you exhale, extend the wave all the way to the top of the brain. The inhale starts at the heart. It continues exactly as it did in the previous stage, but now in stage 2, the wave on the exhalation moves all the way to the top of the head. Allow your consciousness to rest at the top of the head at the end of the exhale, and then when it's time to begin the next inhale, awareness drops into the heart again. So for about another 2 minutes, the wave continues. I'll invite those of you who feel like it, at the end of exhale, with awareness resting at the crown, if you like, pause. Abiding in consciousness. Objectless awareness. Relax the voluntary shaping of the breath, resting at the crown of the head. Take a few moments to ponder the following questions or statements. Reflect on the following. I am not there. Objectless awareness. I am not there. No one else is there. No object of meditation is there. Objectlessness is delight or joy or love and freedom. Objectlessness is love and freedom. So again, I'd like you to ponder or reflect on the question, same question I asked you earlier, but you wrote from a more rational place. This is, in that field of objectlessness, what pattern must be left behind? What pattern from 2025 must be left behind? So this is any repetitive behavior or thought or emotion that inhibits you from honoring the vastness of this field of effortless, joyous being. Maybe there's a new response, maybe not. And then when you have an answer, again, this may be a reiteration of the way you answered the same question earlier. It may be something new. Then just go back into that space at the top of the head. Being aware of the higher mind or luminous mind, empty mind, objectless awareness. And for 2 minutes, just rest in that space between present and past, birth and death, between objects. The remembrance of I am not there, no one else is there, there is no object in meditation. This is coherence. Unified awareness. Now in that clear space, again, I'm going to ask you to feel into the experience of what brought you here today. The inclination, the internal spark to be the fullest version of yourself. And clearly we all know that the fullest version of ourselves last year is not the fullest version of ourselves this year, nor will it be of the next year. But So it's not so much the stuff, it's just feeling into that eternal drive. It's so alive in us from the age of 0 to 3. More synaptogenesis, more development of the brain happens in those first 3 years than the rest of our lives. Clearly, there is a force that we are born with, and yet it never dies. So feel into that spark. It's not even an I thing. It's not particular to you. We all have it. And now, as you rest in it, I'm going to just set up what I'd like you to do shortly. You're going to open your eyes in just a moment. Stay in that space because I want to give you a little taste of it after I describe what's going to happen. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to write a poem, which simply means something that doesn't have to be grammatically correct, it doesn't have to be full sentences, doesn't need a period at the end. Short lines, long lines, doesn't matter. It can be run-on sentences, no sentences. And as you write, you're in essence writing about the unique way this intelligence wants to be expressed, needs to be expressed. Okay, so again, this is what this intelligence is telling you is your path, your ethos. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes or so. Don't have to open your eyes right away. Just make sure it's tapped in, have the pen nearby, and then from there, you start writing as fast as you can without giving it any thought, any judgment. This is the voice of that intelligence, inherently free and kind, loving, compassionate. So you're going to write, give voice to the actions, the feelings, and the thoughts. Put another way, the thoughts, the emotions, and the behavior through which this intelligence of freedom and love must be expressed. Okay. It's up to you when you open your eyes. I'm going to set my watch for 5 minutes, starting now. Again, don't worry about, did I write enough? That's beside the point. You just start writing. They'll be what you need in it if you throw yourself into the exercise. It can be extremely revealing and powerful, and I'll tell you afterwards what we'll do with it. So let's give you 5 minutes. Okay, so just a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and start aiming to finish. And now the trick will be to read it. And if you don't have a highlighter, you can just take a pen. And to highlight, it'll probably be not more than 4 or 5 phrases that speak to, and we've done this exercise before, again, from the 4 desires. This is kind of an extraction, but specifically what you're looking for is the imperative, the ethos, and the ideal will be that it's super active. Okay, so I'm going to show you my work from yesterday and this morning. So basically, it's probably backwards or something, but basically you see that that's my page. That's what I did. And then I found some things that jumped out at me. Okay? And it's interesting because I had asked questions the previous week. And one of them was, if maybe this helps you, I'll just give you a quick anecdote. There are certain things that earlier in my life, or maybe all my life, I imagined that I could step into. Some of which I have, some of which I accomplished, some of which I have not. Now, here's the interesting thing, at least to me. The interesting thing is that of all the things I could imagine, of which I could step into, that was somehow an expression of the best version of myself, what I observed looking back is the things that I felt, not that I could imagine, but of all the things I imagined that I could step into and manifest or whatnot, it was only the things that I felt. Only the things that I felt, that I had a felt sense of, were the things that actually did manifest. Okay, so there's a distinction. Bigger compilation is all the things I imagined. I don't spend a lot of time, imagining. But the things that I kind of felt like, I thought of, that feels authentic. But it was only the things that I felt that actually have happened. So one of the things that I realized is, if I want more to happen, I have to have a felt sense of it. And this was something I realized about a week or 10 days ago in anticipation of this work and New Year's and whatnot. So this thing, one of these things, and I was just writing fast, I wasn't giving any thought, it literally said, imagine that you have arrived, a felt sense, you have everything you need to be the fullest version of yourself. That may not seem like a big deal, but I was really trying to figure out how to expand it, how to step into this other thing. And this line came up, and that line is going to be my resolution. Consistently feeling into that I have everything I need. It may not mean much to you, but it was literally a key that unlocked the door for me. So I'm full transparency, just giving you my process here. All right, so your job is, I'll stop talking, underline or highlight, read through it, find those critical things that can, almost on their own, be like the key that unlocks your door, a defining ethos. Let me give you a minute or so to do that. It may sneak up on you, it may be less than obvious, but I will, if you did the poem, threw yourself into that fully, I'd be very surprised if it didn't reveal at least one or two ethos-like statements or directions from your unconscious. Okay, I don't want to move you too fast, but I'm assuming you're almost done reading and highlighting. Now you have to pick one statement. So for me again, imagine that you have arrived, you have a felt sense that you have everything you need to be the fullest version of yourself. Again, without dragging you into my life too much, the reality is it's really followed me my whole life, which is that I think I'm not prepared enough. I need more preparation. I need more learning. I need to know more. I need to get the vote of confidence of somebody else. Something is waiting for me, or I'm waiting for something fill in the blank, to show up fully and fearlessly. Okay? So now what I'd like you to do is to type it into the chat. I warned you ahead of time that you were going to share it. So that simple statement, and this should go fairly quickly. Shouldn't be long. It's really just maybe 5 to 15 words. If you could, please bring that into the chat. Thank you, Deborah. First into the mix. Oh, this is really good. Exactly. I would invite you all just to glance at these once you've had a chance to share yours. This is fantastic. And the more active it is, the better. And if it doesn't appear active as you wrote it, you can change it a little bit. But make sure you haven't missed, when we're done, look again and see how that goes. Ooh, this is so good, Maite. That's great. Ah, love this. Okay, this is great. So now, as these last ones are coming in, what I'd like you to do is to close your eyes and start to feel into it, a felt sense of it. We can imagine ourselves, we can dream about many things. But it's when you have a felt sense of it that becomes the stuff of manifesting it. Okay, so this is so great. It's so good. So good. All right, so let's all close our eyes. And I am, if you need to refamiliarize with your language, but that's why I wanted you to write it. So even shatter the glass box, I saw that from Jennifer. Any of that, that's absolutely right on. Okay, so let's close our eyes and now just begin to drop into the living experience, not the past, not the future, the living experience of that statement. And within a few moments, it becomes palpable. It's like there's a physiological intelligence that starts to kick in, that starts to take ownership of it. Your cells begin to vibrate with it. You might see an image. You might generate emotion. Now, the longer you can hold on to all of this felt sense of it, be it through image or just a tactile sense of it, or through the variety of experiences that might come with it, the more deeply it's embedded into your unconscious. Beautiful. So now just mentally repeating it, experiencing it. I want you to take as much ownership of it as you can, and then we're going to use that to go into our last meditation. Okay. So, when you're ready, let's pivot. If you're prepared, just please join me in this last practice. And this is drawn from some profound tantric wisdom about seeding meditation and intention deep in the unconscious. So it's a bit elaborate, but I think we'll all be able to follow. Just open your heart and mind. Sometimes these ancient wisdoms saw things and asked our rational mind to move in ways that the very action or intention to do so expands the possibility, the capacity of the mind. Okay, if you need to, you take one more glance at the language. I'm assuming most of you have it, at least the heart of it. With your eyes closed. And then slowly just take your time whenever you're ready, no rush, to come back. Well, good. All right. Okay, so thank you. I'm encouraged. We started that meditation with 138 and 2 more came, so that's great. Okay, so remember I said when we began that this was going to be the seed. I had thought about this being a 40-day thing. We could have done this in a lot of different steps. It deserves you giving it attention after today. I was going to do a whole spiel on habits, that we are our habits, that we default to our habits, not just the behavioral habits, but also our emotions are habits, and our thinking are habits, and rumination. And of the 7,000 or 8,000 thoughts we have a day, something like 95% of them are not new. They're the same old stuff. So I encourage you to drop a habit. That's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And in that new space, you can remember this new statement. I also really would invite you to build into this the new habit, this new orientation. What we did last year is I made this final meditation available for like 40 days. So the other thing I want to do is, and so you'll receive a notice about that once we have that cut and spliced, and we'll make it an audio recording that you can access. It'll be on Sanctuary indefinitely, on my meditation app, and on Union, my video class app. Those things, platform, those things will be available indefinitely. And then finally, I really do want to once more say that Luminous Coherence is coming online. By the way, I'm teaching it at Esalen. If you want to get to that in like 10 days. January 12th, I think it begins. Amazing place up here in Big Sur, California. And if not, really think about joining me online. We have, that starts January 24th. And I really, in all honesty, I think this may be the most important work I've ever taught. So, because specifically about learning how to get comfortable in liminal space. And we are dancing in liminal space. It may feel like we're arriving. We've arrived at 26, but we haven't. There is no arrival. There is no there. There is no magic point in meditation. There's no magic place in resolution. If we want to change what we think might be our future self, we have to change our relationship to this now thing. And that is a mystery. It's not knowable. It literally is unknowable. So listen, so I've answered Kelly's question about the meditation, the final one, and we'll make it available to you. But moreover, I really suggest you strongly consider Luminous Coherence. One more pitch for that. Early bird special ends in about 4 days. So you have a little bit of time. You can go to rodstryker.com and find that. Let's practice together. One last thing I want to offer is just that we come together one last time and think about sending love and wisdom to everyone on this call, that we radiate it outward to the globe, that we honor what our higher self sees as what is most essential and do our best to realize the story is always changing. The story is what we typically live by and under the spell of. And instead, in the luminous space between the story, the projected sense of reality, and our identity, that in between non-object place is really the guiding force that allows us to remain free and joyous and kind. So, thank you for coming. Happy 2026. Make it a great year, a moment at a time. Hari Om. And thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you all.